Hello, Aries. Welcome to Leo season. This is a reading for any Aries identified folks. Your sun, rising, moon in Aries. This is for you. If you have other Aries placements that you know of and you're familiar with those archetypal energies, you can listen for them as well. So, Leo season in 2024 begins on July 22nd and ends on August 22nd. I'm going to offer a general reading for Aries identified people and just bring through what feel like the most important messages for this season as a whole. And then I'm going to tune in with some of the chapter markers and timelines of the season and try it, bring it down into more practicals of how you might want to tune in. Whenever you hear this message, it's the right time. So if it's not Leo season anymore, then you might just want to broaden your listening and listen for what's resonant right now. All right, Aries, Leo is your fellow fire sign. That means it's a friend to you. Leo occupies a really important space in your chart called the solar fifth house. This is the place of your joy, your happiness, your personal creative expression, and your vitality, your life energy. So as we move into Leo season, we are moving into a period of time that is really amplifying these themes. And I want to say that it is so important that you are yourself, Aries. You're a fucking Aries. You came to be yourself. You are the first of all the fire signs. You are the match that lights the fire. It is absolutely essential that Aries, throughout the course of your life, that you work towards self-actualization. And Leo season this year is really bringing that to the forefront. Now, self-actualization is not bombastic, arrogant expression of however the fuck you feel in any given moment. It's actually some work. It requires refinement. It asks for discernment. It needs you to check in consistently with your values, with your internal narratives, with your kind of automatic operations, with your habits, with your addictions, and definitely with your mind. So much is happening in our minds all the time that have nothing to do with our self-actualization or authentic hearts. Our minds are filled with other people's voices for the most part. The thoughts that go through our mind are cyclical. Often they tend to loop. They're often very neurotic. They can be very self-centered in egotistical and self-limiting versus self-actualizing ways. And so Leo season is a period of time that's bringing the need for self-actualization to the forefront, but the need that you have to actualize is also a need to labor, to be about it, to put your money where your mouth is, to actually take action, to commit your time, energy, and resources. Number one resource being your actual presence and attention, your life energy itself. And Leo season is asking you to do some of the hard work of paying attention to where you are not actualizing and where you're actually misusing your power and misdirecting your resource and attention, and feeding ways of being in the world for yourself and for others that don't contribute to the kind of world that you want to live in. Over the course of Leo season, I feel that Aries is really noticing how social groups and group dynamics are changing. Now, they're changing because you're changing. How you're experiencing social landscapes, friend groups, family groups, etc., are changing because you're changing. Your values are changing and your priorities are shifting. Some of you maybe used to think that those types of people or those ways of being were super cool. And now you're like, I don't know, not so much, not feeling impressed. And in that recognition of something is shifting, there's an opportunity for you to expand your perspective a little bit and see who else is out there. What are they doing? How can you reorient your time allocation and your presence and your socializing? There are invitations for you right now to engage in social spaces and friend spaces and conversational spaces in new ways. And in order for you to engage in new ways, we need you to be tuning into what are your habits and how do you automatically enter these spaces. What are your biases? That includes your judgments of others. That includes implicit bias, so ways of feeling about people that happen automatically, that are maybe rooted in deeper and older narratives that are more cultural and less individual. It also wants you to check in with your personal habits and the ways that you have learned to value yourself and what you think is valuable about you. I think that a lot of you have learned to value certain aspects of yourself that, not to say they're not valuable parts of you, but they're evolving, like you're evolving. And so there is a feeling right now that I have that a lot of you are ready to step into a kind of new perspective of how you get to be or who you get to be. Recognize that some of the ways that maybe you have known your strengths and really relied on certain modes of communication or ways of being, particular aspects of your identity, what you think is like most attractive about you or something like that, it's changing. And so there are different places in the vast landscape of who you are that want to be explored. And there are different perspectives that you really want to cultivate. There are different mind states and attitudes and orientations that will benefit you when you open up to them. But all of this requires practice. And so this is a season for you to commit yourself to the practices of self-actualizing. Now, I want to make a distinction between self-actualizing and self-improvement. Self-improvement is coming from a kind of notion that you are not good enough now. It's coming from an idea that you want to get better at something. And that is in contrast to where you might feel that you're not good at something or where there's a deficiency. Now, I don't want to knock self-improvement. I have a lot of self-improvement projects. I think that, we can always grow, we can always learn, we can always hone our skills. But it is really important for you right now that you are not indulging negative self-talk. And so if there are skills that you're trying to build, if you're working to refine certain aspects of your personality or something like that, I want you to appreciate where you have the beginning of those skills already. I want you to appreciate your interest and desire to cultivate those skills and feel appreciative of your inclination. If there are ways that you are working to refine something about yourself, maybe you're trying to, be more responsible or something like that. I don't want you speaking negatively to yourself, like, wow, you just don't do a good job at that, or you're always messing that up, or you need to do that better, or something like that. What I want you to do is tune in with, again, where you're already making an effort with something, and recognize and appreciate your desire for whatever it is that you are trying to refine or improve. Your energy right now gets totally depleted by myopic focus on negativity. So that could include criticism. It could include dislike or hatred or negative judgment. It can also include worry and doubt and feelings of inadequacy or kind of competition. Your energy and vitality gets built and fortified right now when you focus on the good stuff. But it's not about not seeing the bad stuff, or see, even in my language, it's not about not seeing what needs to be improved, but it's about holding what is getting refined and actualized and working it. So even in the way that I was just correcting myself and I was like, oh, it's the bad stuff. And then I was like, boop, that's the language that actually I'm trying to transform, because it's not bad. It's just undeveloped. It's unrealized. It has not yet been crafted into the refined shape that it wants to be. And when I can hold an area of process or growth with recognition of its evolving nature and with support for it to kind of realize its potential and not feel deficient in what it is, then I get buoyed by that energy. As opposed to if I'm focusing on binaries of good and bad, or better and worse, or attractive or unattractive, I like that, I don't like that, especially when I'm focusing on the negative, all my energy is going to get sucked into that, and it doesn't give me what I need to be generative. And this is the feeling that I have for you so strongly in Leo season, Aries. I feel like you need to fill your inner body with vitality and energy. Your inner body includes all the stuff inside. It includes your organs and your blood and your fluid system, but it also includes your energetic body. It includes your emotional and your psychic and your mental bodies as well. And in whatever ways you can be filling yourself with beauty, with recognition of inherent value and inherent goodness, with appreciation, with encouragement, with a kind of broad perspective of evolution and an awareness that things are changing over time and you can appreciate where you're making an effort, that gives you energy. So that's a big takeaway for me, for you, for Aries and Leo season. Give yourself positive encouragement and give your perspective to what feels generative and life-giving and nourishing. When you notice that you're concentrating on narratives and ideas of deficiency, of something being bad or worse, or negating it in some way, I want you to notice what it does to your energy body. The feeling that I get for you is it makes you really sharp in your mind, in the front of your head. I feel like your vision and your perspective gets super narrow. You lose the big picture a little bit. Some of you might go really quickly into rabbit holes and kind of like spiralic thinking. You might get neurotic and insecure, obsessed with what other people are doing, what they think of you, blah, 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 or obsessed with what they're doing and feeling judgmental about it or something like that. None of that serves your energy right now. The last thing I'll say in terms of big picture and themes for Leo season for Aries is that in this season, we open up into a period of time that's going to be about a year, until June of 2025, that is asking you to really shift the way that you are thinking about things, using your language, communicating and expressing yourself, definitely also through written language or any other ways that you might be communicating. Maybe you're a mime or something like that. Not everything is linguistic, but communication is a big theme for you right now. It feels to me like a lot of you are really needing to make communication more of a collaborative experience and get out of your head about it, and get out of like what's happening on a more, I'm going to say, like idea of psychic level. So the feeling that I'm getting is that you are in a place right now where you need to double, triple, quadruple check. Are you accurate in your perceptions? you can very quickly make some assumptions about all kinds of things. And particularly when it comes to vibes, when it comes to like a feeling that you have, um, it feels really important to me that you are clarifying what that feeling is about and that you're not making assumptions that you know. Um, in relationships, this is especially important. And I want to say that a lot of you, I think, are trying to build new relationships. I mentioned before new experiences with community. You can build relationships with this kind of foundation. You can also change and evolve existing relationships by starting to bring in more of this type of practice. So if you're feeling a kind of way and you're like, that person didn't give me any direct information, but I'm reading their cues. I'm getting this sense that this thing is happening or that thing is happening. Check in about it, but check in about it in a way that is curious, that is open to different information than maybe what you've been picking up on, and that invites a conversation. So this is the difference between me getting a vibe and being like, why are you mad? I know something's going on. And me going, hey, I'm sensing that something's happening for you energetically. Like, what's going on for you? And that shift of how I approach someone or something can make an enormous amount of difference. So with the first example, even if someone's giving me like a stink face, even if they're not returning my text, even if they're being a total asshole, or in my experience, I'm like, you're being an asshole. If I come to them and I'm like, why are you mad at me? I'm already starting that story. That person might not be mad at me. They might be actually going through an incredibly hard time in their personal life, and that's why they're acting this way. But when I say that, then I add another layer to their challenging situation, and they might not have any patience for that. And that could turn into an argument between us. That could continue to snowball negative consequences for both of us. If they are mad at me and I come at them like that, then I don't give us any opportunity in the conversation to listen, to understand what's happening. I don't come to them from a place of receptivity where they might have the trust that they could talk to me, etc. In the second example, hey, I'm noticing something. I don't really know what it is, but I'm wondering if you'd be willing to talk about it. What's going on for you? That's an open-ended invitation. That lets somebody know that there is a curiosity in their experience. There's not a judgment. I'm not meeting them with defensiveness. There is room for us to have a conversation that allows them to be an individual having their own experience. It allows them to be entitled to their own experience and also to invite me in. It gives both of us agency, etc. So it feels like a really important time for you to be speaking up when you sense things, but also communicating in ways that allow for new kinds of conversation and information to come through. The other part of this message for you is that I feel like a lot of you want to have more direct conversations with energy in general. And energy in general is happening everywhere. We live in an energetic field of life. There are all kinds of energies moving around us at all kinds of times. Every environment has different energies inside of it. Trees have energy, animals have energy, clouds have energy. Aries, I feel like it's really helpful for you to be in conversation and connection right now with the more than human realms. And in the ways where it might feel, somewhat stressful or habitual or all kinds of things to be in conversations with human beings, being in conversations with those who are not human opens up totally new and different realms of possibility. There are so many amazing things that the clouds can tell you. If you tune in with the trees and the flowers and the birds and the bees, you will be having conversations that I think could really stimulate your creativity, that could help you feel more at ease in your mind. I feel like these kinds of conversations actually help you land in a sense of belonging in a more congruent and coherent way. And then this in turn serves and supports you in your human relationships. It allows you to feel like you're part of something bigger that is beyond the realm of the human. It gives you a sense of continuity in your own spirit and engagement with the world around you that will only lend in positive ways to your relationships with people. And so I will also say that Leo season, moving into Virgo season, July and August, these are times where it is really helpful for you to be in some kind of spiritual or energetic conversation. This could include meditation. This could include reading sacred texts. This can include guided journeying. This can also include just chilling in a space of solitude or quietness and connecting with the environment around you. There's an invitation for you to open your sense of curiosity, conversation, and engagement, to be playful about it, and to invite your imagination to come forward. Don't assume that you know what the clouds are saying, but have a good time imagining what they might be saying and see if they have something important to say to you. Okay, so Leo season begins on July 22nd, and I'm going to move through the season following the moon-sun relationship because it marks Leo season very definitively this year. So we begin Leo season with a full moon. There's a full moon in the last hours of Cancer season, right before the sun moves into Leo. This full moon has a feeling of completion that it is bringing in really big ways. Certain things are done. They are done. They are done for us personally. They are done for us relationally. They are done for us politically. They are done for us societally. And they are done in the world. They are done in the environment. The environment or Mother Earth themselves are saying, done. Can't tolerate these kinds of behaviors anymore, these kinds of consumption patterns anymore, this ongoing war. We need something different now. Now, in your chart, and I would say in the collective, there's a feeling that what we're done with are notions of toxic individualism. These are notions of personal supremacy. These are notions of heroic kinds of figures, you know, people who got somewhere all by themselves. Total myth, right? Nobody gets anywhere all by themselves. These are definitely notions of saviors. These are notions of perfection. These are competitive ways of being. These are warlike, oppressive ways of being. We are done. In your chart, my friend, you are done trying to achieve that. Over the last 15 years, you have been on some kind of trajectory that has to do with your sense of personal competency and mastery. I think a lot of you have been trying to realize how to be in the world in some kind of way that you have respect for. But your notions of what is respectable and what you really want to contribute to the world have been changing profoundly. And as we step into Leo season, there is a feeling of you are done trying to prove it that way. You are done competing in whatever way you were. You're done reaching for success. If success means that you're like up at the top of a pile and a whole bunch of, you know, people and land and plants and animals are like below you. Nobody's getting anywhere from that anymore. All we're getting is more suffering and struggle. There's a feeling for me in your chart that you are ready to open in deeper collaboration with the world and with your life. You want new kinds of community. You want different kinds of friends. You want to feel yourself both giving and receiving energy in new and different ways. You don't want to feel alone in your efforts anymore, and you don't want to feel like you have to prove something in a way that puts all the responsibility and emphasis on your personal achievements. Over the rest of this year, I think you're trying to figure out how to make more space for these new kinds of relationships and experiences. Some of you are putting some kind of wrapping on something. You are like literally done with some kind of project. Some of you might be very done with a job. Some of you might be done with a whole career path and trajectory. And you are trying to figure out how to make a transition from what you have been doing into what you want to be doing. And what you want to be doing is unfolding right now. So it is not yet totally known. You might have ideas of what it looks like or can look like, but it's also emerging and it's still kind of murky. It's not the time for you to know exactly what it is that you're trying to do, but it is the time for you to recognize what is not working for you anymore, what you don't want to invest in anymore, and stop. How you stop is going to be different depending on what the situation is. Some of you are needing to go through some kind of process of transition, and that process is going to take its time. I want to say that it needs to be done by the end of this calendar year. So by the end of 2024, we need you wrapping up and moving into the next thing and making space for whatever it is to come through. Some of you are like ready to move on tomorrow from whatever it is. And if you're ready to move on tomorrow, then I'm going to say there's about 6 weeks or so of transition. But by the end of August, I think a lot of you are making preparations to move into some kind of new and different space, new and different work, new and different relationships. You know what it is for you. Where you have the feeling of, I can't uphold that anymore. It doesn't work for me to be like that anymore. I don't have the energy for it anymore. I can't give my time, energy, and resources there anymore. You have to listen to that. Make the preparations to move on. The first week of Leo season, from that full moon until the fourth quarter, beginning on the 27th. So let's say the 22nd of July through the 29th. This is that period of time where it's like clarification is happening for you and you have to reallocate your resources. You really want to be very intentional about what it is that you're trying to do, and also clearly define for yourself what are the steps that you need to be making. This is a great time to make lists. It's a really good time to get information that you need that will help you with this transition, but you really want to start taking action in that direction. Then we're moving from the fourth quarter to the new moon. We have a new moon on August 4th. That new moon is really emphasizing a feeling of you coming back to yourself. There's a sense here of authenticity and freedom as you kind of like feel your heart in some way. You feel your vitality, you feel your energy as you make decisions to not do something because it's not working for you. Then you have clarity around what you do want, what feels good, what feels generative, what feels honest and authentic for you. During this period of time, it is really helpful for you to tune in with desire as a sensation in your body. Notice when desire becomes a narrative and a mind state of like what it is. I want to encourage you to be kind of open right now about what it is that you think you want. That includes people, places, things, and your own self-growth. Instead, I want you to tune in with the feeling of desire in your body. Desire is one of our like primordial archetypal energies. The universe was birthed from Eros, from erotic energy. And it is so life-giving and vitalizing and energizing when we're able to tune in with our desire. Audre Lorde has a famous essay on erotic energy and the uses of the erotic. If you haven't read it or haven't read it in a while, you might want to tune in with it now. It could be a very good guide for you. I want to say that erotic energy and the way that I'm trying to talk about it is not actually about like hooking up with other people. It's about you claiming that energy for yourself and letting it help you center in your own vitality and life force. There are a lot of ways that we misuse our erotic energy by misplacing it on objectification and like desire for others or achievement or attainment or ownership or something like that. Consumption. That's not what this is about. This is about you accessing vitality in your own body. This is about you feeling a sense of aliveness and playfulness. When you feel a sense of desire, try and get somatic about it. Where is it in your body? What does it want to do? How does it want to dress? What music does it want to listen to? What food does it want to eat? How do you kind of show up more for what feels very authentic in terms of your own expressive energy? This is a time to not apologize for being yourself, but be curious about how and where you bring your impact. Your erotic desire, vitality, energy will have an impact in the world. My feeling is that you want to be sensitive to that impact while also helping yourself integrate and refine this energy. So if you notice that someone like isn't on board or they feel overwhelmed, or maybe they're like, oh my God, they're so attracted, and then they're trying to like get at you, that's information for you. How can you take that information and internalize it in a way that helps you come closer to your desire, that helps you express from a place that is response able, that doesn't shrink back, that doesn't overly apologize or people please, but also isn't about just blasting through in anyone's space, right? Like you need to find your right people. You need to find the right venues. You need to be discerning right now about where and with whom you run that energy, because you're trying to cultivate it, and that takes skill. Mercury is stationing retrograde on the day of the new moon. And from August 4th until the 28th, that retrograde is asking you to be in this kind of dance around how do you express yourself? How do you give the most of what you have to give in ways that are effective, efficient, and of service? You want to be part of something that you believe in. You want to contribute your time, energy, talents, and resources to work in the world that is building the kind of world that you want to live in. This requires you to be adaptable. Adaptability is one of my top keywords for Leo season in 2024. We are in a space of needing to assess how things are going. What was useful in the past that we can harvest and take forwards into the future? What is no longer useful that we need to cut out, clarify, and refine? What are we working towards, and how can we start to embody these goals and visions right now? And how can we learn from the ways that we are working so that we can adjust as we move forward? Preparation is another of my key words for Leo season in 2024. Aries, you are preparing for something. As I've talked about already, you are done with something and you're moving towards something else. And so part of your preparation needs to be some kind of internal meditation around how you want to be feeling in the future. Now, your feelings include your emotional, physical, mental, and relational experiences. How do you want to feel in the future? Guess what? The future is already here. This moment is already in the past. How you want to feel in the future is something that you can practice now. This brings us back to adaptability. As you practice being and embodying how you want to feel in the future, you're going to get feedback. You're going to get your own feedback, your relationship feedback. The world is going to give you feedback, and it's up to you to make the most of that feedback so that you can continue to craft and refine your personal self-expression, how you're using your energy so that you can build this feeling that you want to live into. Finally, perspective is my third keyword, and this Mercury retrograde is really asking you to cultivate some deep perspective. This is the perspective of capacity. You are one person, and this is an enormous world. You have one life to live, and even if you live a really long time, your life is short comparatively. All of us will be forgotten in a couple of generations, even if we become really famous world shapers. What is arising right now is temporary. And that perspective is really important for you as you make these adjustments and you prepare for what's coming up. I want you to be working skillfully. I want you to work smarter, not harder. I want you to let go of trying to control what is not yours to control. That includes basically everything that's not you. That includes the world. That includes political situations. That includes other people for sure. I want you to contribute generously in the ways that you can. So there is a need for you right now to have perspective. What do you know about yourself so far? What are your skills? What makes you actually happy? Where do you derive energy? What feeds you? That's where we need to be focusing for these next chapters. What do you know that you don't want to do? That's an important part of your perspective right now. If there's something that you dislike and you don't want to do, ideally you don't have to do it. You might have to do it. So how do you do it in different ways so that it doesn't feel like such a drag? Your perspective of like and dislike, preference and aversion, can also be something that is adaptable. And I think that a lot of you might find that certain things that you don't like to do so much can actually become a lot more fun if you do them with others. So there is a feeling right now of the need for collaboration and relationship to help sustain your efforts. Over the course of Mercury retrograde, I think that it really serves you to be feeling into these ideas and making adjustments towards them. Finally, I want to say that this Mercury retrograde is an invitation for you to work in very practical ways to help kind of clean up your environment. That includes your internal environment. If you have addictions or habits that you know are not good for you, this is a good time to go on a cleanse or something like that. It also really includes your external environment. First and foremost, what's right here. So it might be a time when you really need to get your living situation organized or cleaned up. And I want to say that your participation in larger environmental care for the world, care for the land, this is really important for everybody. And there's something specifically for Aries right now that feels essential about the ways that you can participate in some kind of larger healing process. And over the next 6 weeks, think about where and how you can plug in, what you have to offer. And again, keep thinking about perspective. You don't need to offer everything. What you offer doesn't have to be the best and the biggest and the most. It just has to be something that you can sustain, that you feel dedicated to, and that you actually feel really aligned with. In the last week and a half or so of Leo season, from the first quarter on August 12th until the end of the season on the 22nd, we have some of the biggest, loudest, most combustive and chaotic astrological energy coming through so far this year. That might be kind of like a oh shit feelings, since this year has already been giving quite a lot. But these are the times that we are here for. So we are alive at a time of great change. There is a lot that's breaking down. There's a lot that feels like it's full of discord. And in the dissolving of structures and in the disillusion of the status quo, there is so much space for creativity and liberation. And it feels to me like this period in August is a really exciting, very generous period for creative engagement. I want to say that there are a lot of opportunities for connecting across spaces of difference in areas it feels like this is really important for you. Um, there's so much polarization in the world right now, and a lot of groups of people who are getting more and more consolidated inside of their groups. It is a time when we need to know who our people are. So there is an element of go towards those who are like-minded and collaborate and form allegiances where there are similar desires and aims and needs and values. There is also a need right now to disrupt the ways that the status quo has really relied on othering. We live in a world that has been so destroyed by income inequality. And there is a 1% of people who have way more than they need. There's a 10% of people who have a lot more than they need. And then there's a 70, or what is that, like 89% of people who don't have most of what they need and who are experiencing scarcity. The reason those 89% of people don't have what they need is because the 11% of people who have more than they need have more than they need. Wealth creates poverty. Whiteness relies on blackness to exist, right? There are ways that our society has indoctrinated us with binaries and built systems around perpetuating and maintaining those binaries. And those systems are run by those who benefit from them. But we all contribute to them when we believe in them. And so there is a need right now to disrupt these kind of notions and behaviors of othering. And this feels important in your chart right now. It feels really important to me that you are checking in and tuning in with your automatic narratives, with the ways that you tell stories about people who you don't know, with the ways that you put yourself in this camp instead of that camp, and then the stories that you tell about what that camp does and what your camp does. Everybody everywhere has potential for destruction and creation. Everybody everywhere has potential for violence and for healing. And what we want to feed ourselves with right now is intelligence and consciousness. We want to build more coherence around our own capacities and potentials. We want to feel into the causes and conditions that underlie how things manifest and emerge. And so when we put ourselves and others into camps and we say, oh, this is us and that's them, we're taking a really limited view of what's happening. We're not acknowledging how us and them have even come to be. We're not necessarily being imaginative about what us and them can be. Instead, we're fixing everybody in an unchanging narrative, and we're saying, this is who you are, and this is who I am. And then we're stuck. So how do you internalize this kind of behavior? Everybody does it, right? Depending on where you are in your social location and identity, your narratives are going to be different, but you're still doing it because it's a strong, very deep societal habit. It is a habit of human consciousness for millennia. It's a habit that has extended across cultures and groups of people. And some groups of people maybe haven't had such a strong habit, but it is a latent seed of potential in human consciousness. Our first capacity for vision is like light and shadow, right? We're people, we're organisms that survive by being able to feel attraction and aversion. Having a binary kind of spectrum, having a binary of like one extreme to another extreme isn't in itself a problem. It's when we lose the spectrum between these two ends that we really mess ourselves up and mess each other up. Over the course of these last days or last week and a half or so of Leo season, let your stories dissolve. get really curious about where you're fixing and attaching meaning to yourself and others that fix you and others inside of boxes. See where there are opportunities to have conversations that actually get at other ways of knowing and feeling and understanding each other. This is a time for you to be very curious about what you're picking up, right? So when I was saying like check in with the vibe, if you have an opportunity to have exploratory, curious conversations with people, especially where you feel there might be a barrier of some kind of difference. This doesn't even need to be extreme in terms of like social location or political identity or something like that. It could just be, like someone's older than you, or maybe it's your boss, or maybe it's your partner. And there's a feeling of like, you're there and I'm here. How do you disrupt that, get out of your narrative and open up the conversation? This is so generative for you. It feels like this allows doors to open that you didn't even know were there. That means new opportunities are coming through. And as I mentioned before, from July of this year until June of next year, you're really in a space of needing to have new kinds of conversations so that you can move into this next chapter of new and different kinds of community. Okay, Aries, when it comes to community and how you connect with others, I want to invite you to the Embodied Astrology events this season. They all kind of meet these notions that I've spoken to in different ways. Every Monday, 8 to 9:30 a.m. Pacific, I offer a class on Zoom that you can always drop in with, or you can get a membership and come all the time and get the recordings. But these are spaces where we just practice somatically with the astrological suggestions for the week ahead. We do practices that help clear our bodies and our minds, and that help us tune in and listen beyond the human realm and also into our inner bodies. These are things that I was suggesting for you. These classes are playful, they're exploratory, they're a way to engage with astrology that's not about getting in our heads, but it is about getting in our bodies. And I find, and I think the folks that come to the classes would agree, that these are very beneficial spaces, and they actually do really help prepare me for the week ahead. On August 3rd, I'll also be guest teaching with Gabs 404 in their embodied astrology space called the Nebula Lab. The Nebula Lab is an experimental space where Gabs is working in the intersections between reality making and world making and astrology, and particularly through photography and visual imagery and representation. In this particular class, I'll be looking at Neptune in our personal charts. And when it comes to community and connection with others, your Neptune placement actually has a lot to do with how you are here to connect and connect with kind of larger themes and greater offerings. Then later in the month, on the 18th of August, Sherry Taylor is beginning a new cycle of devotional practices. This will be 3 practices between August 18th and September 29th. And in this first offering, she'll be joined by Renee, who is a fabulous astrologer who specializes in vocational astrology. Aries, a lot of you are shifting your idea of your vocation right now, and you are really trying to tune in with how and with whom you are here to give your biggest gifts. This is a place where you can work really concretely and practically with those themes. And then the next 2 sessions with Sherry will help you continue to clarify and refine, particularly when it comes to this need for you to listen inwards into your energy, into your commitments, and into your dedications. On August 20th, which is a Tuesday, Janata Petrus will be holding her monthly Artistic Alchemy full moon space. In these spaces, there is support for you to work with prompts and practices to help enliven and awaken your creativity. Leo holds a place in the Aries solar chart that is all about creativity. It is all about artistry, and it is all about your personal expression. So if you've been wanting to check out one of Junauda's classes, this is definitely a good one for you to tune in with. I think it would be really supportive for you and really helpful when it comes to these themes of self-actualizing. Finally, I want to invite you to come join me in October 24th through the 27th, in person, on land. I'll be co-facilitating a 4-day retreat with Michelle and Ramon Gabrielaf Parrish, two friends and colleagues of mine who do really beautiful work combining mysticism and spirituality with activism and social engagement. They are longtime activists, especially in the realms of food and environmental justice, strategy and design thinking, social planning and community preparedness. And we are going to be working with astrology and our bodies and somatic practices and the land and listening with the land to help prepare us for what's coming next in 2025 and beyond. So if that sounds interesting to you, or if you want more information on any of those offerings, you can check them out at embodiedastrology.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms, including YouTube, Instagram, and anywhere you stream your podcasts. You can find us everywhere at Embodied Astrology. Aries, I'm wishing you all the best in Leo season and beyond. Bye for now.